السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على نبي الله محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. ما بعد. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to our brand new chapter, or the brand new Tafseer on Soorah An-Noor, a very technical and relevant surah. It was relevant when it was revealed. It was relevant throughout Islamic history, and it is relevant today, and it will remain to be relevant until the end of time, just like the entire Quran. From there, we get guidance, we get directives, we get facilitation, we get foundations, we get understanding. From there, we know how to behave, how to conduct ourselves, how to operate. We know how to get by and how to survive in this crazy world we're living in. Thank you. So, without any further ado, we'll turn the microphone on Mussab's side and have him begin the recitation, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سورة أنزلناها وفرضناها وأنزلنا فيها آيات بينات لعلكم تذكرون.
Is it working? I don't know if you guys were able to hear him. I doubt you were. Okay, you heard him. Okay, alhamdulillah. طيب. So, this is a surah which we have sent down and made that within it obligatory, and revealed therein verses of clear evidence that you might remember. The Shaykh rahimahullah says, أي هذه سورة عظيمة القدر. This is a surah which is great in status. It is a surah which is great in status. أنزلناها رحمة منا بالعباد. We have sent it down as mercy from us to the servants. وحفظناها من كل شيطان. And we've protected it against every devil. وفرضناها أي قدرنا فيها ما قدرنا من الحدود والشهادات وغيرها. فرضناها meaning we made it obligatory. The Shaykh said, as in we have evaluated, or we have decreed what we have decreed of penal codes and testimonies and other matters of this nature. وأنزلنا فيها آيات بينات أي أحكاما جليلة وأوامر وزواجر وحكما عظيمة. And we have revealed therein verses of clear evidence. The Shaykh said, meaning rulings, noble rulings, commandments, prohibitions, and great wisdoms as well. Great wisdom. لعلكم تذكرون حين نبين لكم ونعلمكم ما لم تكونوا تعلمون. Perhaps you might remember, as in when we clarify matters for you and we teach you that which you knew not before. ثم شرع في بيان تلك الأحكام المشار إليها فقال. Then Allah Azza wa Jal proceeded to elaborate on those rulings that He had alluded to in this ayah, and then He went on to say, go ahead, Ya Mussab.
الزانية والزاني فاجلدوا كل واحد منهما 100 جلدة ولا تأخذكم بهما رأفة في دين الله إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر وليشهد عذابهما طائفة من المؤمنين.
Right. The unmarried women, or the unmarried woman, or unmarried man found guilty of sexual intercourse, lash each one of them with 100 lashes, and do not be taken by pity for them in the religion of Allah. If you should believe in Allah and the last day, and let a group of the believers witness their punishment. The Shaykh says, هذا الحكم في الزاني والزانية البكرين. This is the ruling concerning the fornicator, fornicating man and the fornicating woman, al-bikrain. What is bikr? Meaning the virgins, the ones who have not been married before. أنهما يجلد كل منهما 100 جلدة, that each one of them should be lashed 100 times. وأما الثيب, as for the one who's not virgin, فقد دلت السنة الصحيحة المشهورة أن حده الرجم. Then the clear, famous sunnah indicate, the sound sunnah indicate that the ruling therein is stoning. The ruling therein is stoning. Now, we need to make a few comments. And of course, the ruling of the stoning is in Bukhari and Muslim, as it mentions in the footnote. And here I have a couple of things to share with you. And that is that such rulings are often criticized and complained about by the non-Muslims, who find them to be barbaric and severe, inhumane, extreme, radical, and so on and so forth, of adjectives of this nature, all of which denote a sense of abhorrence and repulsiveness towards the rulings that are found within Islam. Now, the irony in all of that is that this comes from people that are far more criminal in nature than anything that they're criticizing within Islam. Those are the same people that engaged and engage until now in warfare. Just think about World War I and World War II, and I'm always fascinated. I'm fascinated when I watch documentaries about world wars and the amount and the level of criminality and just complete. I mean, I can't even put it in words. Just absolutely no sense of consideration to human soul and human existence and human dignity. Just straight up murderous behavior of the worst nature. So the double standards of the West and the liberals and the what they call democratic rules and laws that were man-made are never and were never and will never be better and more suitable for mankind than what Allah Azza wa Jal revealed. And all the alternatives that they have come up with in order to deter people from such crimes have failed miserably. Anything in Islam that for instance, the lashing or the stoning, you know how careful a person would be and how much they would avoid falling into adultery when they know that if they get caught they will be stoned to death, versus when they know that nothing is going to happen. And what is the result of that? The massive spread of sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, AIDS, children born out of wedlock, children that are in adoption homes, and the mixture of family lineages, and the list goes on and on and on, of social calamities and disasters of the highest order and magnitude that are uncontrollable in these societies where the people do not govern and rule by what Allah Azza wa Jal revealed. And so when people become shy, when Muslims are shy and they feel ashamed that there's a problem, or they consider, as Yasir Qadi put it, that some of the rules are bizarre and problematic, that is the sickness of the heart, and that is the sickness of faith, and that is cowardly behavior, and just absolutely humiliating to behave in this manner and to be ashamed and to shy away from what Allah Azza wa Jal revealed. You humans are not the creators, and you don't know what is suitable for the creation. By all means, you don't know what is suitable for us more than Allah Azza wa Jal. So when Allah revealed those, it's because of Allah's wisdom, it's because of Allah's immense knowledge of humankind, how He created us, how He formed us, how He formulated us, and He knows what is suitable for us and what is ideal, what is lawful, what is not, what is decent, what is not. Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who sets the standards of acceptability or the lack of it, not human beings. Because human beings who claim to have something superior to the law of Allah, you will see that they're falling short and they're failing in all aspects of life. And all of their man-made laws, all of them are utter failures, just being demonstrated on different levels in different situations with different individuals. And those who know. And we could really zero in on this and speak for hours and give you hundreds of examples of different man-made laws that are nothing but utter failure. That the liberals and the Democrats are proud of, that they've come up with these laws that are supposedly good for humans, and in reality they're just ludicrous. Just look at the prison population. The prison population where people commit a crime and they go to prison for Allah knows how long, and then while in prison they get an education, they get a degree. Some of them become doctors. They have gym, so they get buff and they get in shape. They straight up they organize their life on the expense of the free people with their tax money. What? This dude is a criminal, man. He stole. He should have had his hand chopped off in Islam, and then he's back out there in the society trying to earn a living. You put this guy in prison for 5-10 years, he lives off other people, and then as soon as he gets out, the dude is back at it again. He's stealing again. And history and the records prove that beyond a shadow of doubt. So what y'all talking about? And the same thing can go again with everything, every penal code in the world that is not revealed by Allah is nothing but a failure. So, you need to chill out. And if you're a Muslim, be happy that you're a Muslim. Be happy that Allah revealed it. Wallah, nothing feels better than being content and satisfied. If that's what Allah said, you lash him, man, you lash him. If Allah says you stone them, man, you stone them. Because Allah knows best. You've done your job. And hey, it's mercy for them. Those who get stoned to death, they pay for that crime in the dunya. They're no longer responsible for it on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Do you know how big that is? You're far better off having to pay for your crime in this worldly life rather than pay for it on the day of judgment. So those who get punished in this worldly life for a crime they committed, it's actually the payment. They're actually expiating for that sin via the punishment that they have received. Doesn't get better than that. Versus having to deal with it on the day of judgment. So even for those people, it is mercy. And it is a deterrent for others. And, for a person who's thinking weird thoughts, for example, in Islam, you kill someone, you're going to get killed. Man, you better think 1,000,000 times before you try to kill somebody, because your life is at stake. But when you know that you could kill somebody and get away with it, or you could just go to prison or whatever, then the likeliness of you committing that crime will be far and more a lot more higher than if you knew that your life would be taken away as well. Anyways, I don't want to, go further than this. I think you understand the point I'm trying to make. Bismillah. ونهانا تعالى أن تأخذنا رأفة بهما في دين الله تمنعنا من إقامة الحد عليهما. And Allah prohibited us that we are taken by pity in the religion of Allah, which will prevent us from establishing the ruling against them, establishing the actual executing the punishment against them. سواء رأفة طبيعية أو لأجل قرابة أو صداقة أو غير ذلك. Be it the natural type of pity that you have, just because you want to be, you're a merciful human being, you want to be merciful to others, or because of some sort of relationship or friendship or something other than that, meaning this is my uncle, nah, don't do this to my uncle, it's my homeboy, don't do this to my homeboy. It doesn't. Don't let any of that prevent you from executing and carrying out the ruling and the punishment that Allah Azza wa Jal stipulated. وأن الإيمان موجب لانتفاء هذه الرأفة المانعة من إقامة أمر الله. And the fact that Iman is that which necessitates the absence of such pity that will divert you from establishing the punishment of Allah and the command of Allah. فرحمته حقيقة بإقامة الحد عليه. The true mercy to that person is by actually carrying out the commandment or the punishment against him. فنحن وإن رحمنا لجريان القدر عليه فلا نرحمه من هذا الجانب. So even if we show mercy to him because of the fact that Allah decreed that for him, we will not show mercy in terms of carrying out the punishment. وأمر تعالى أن يحضر عذاب الزانيين طائفة أي جماعة من المؤمنين. Allah Azza wa Jal commanded that punishment is witnessed and observed by a group from among the believers, those two fornicators. And just for the record, we make a distinction in the English language because in Arabic you use the term zani for both. You use zani for the fornicator, you use zani for the adulterer. In English, a fornicator is for the unmarried and the adulterer is for the married or previously married, whether currently married or previously married. If they engage in illegal sexual intercourse, that's called adultery. And if they've never been married and they engage in sexual intercourse, then they are fornicators. تمام؟ نعم ليشتهر ويحصل بذلك الخزي والارتداع. Why? So this will become known among the people and it will result in humiliation and also deterring for the others. وَلِيُشَاهِدُوا الْحَدَّ فِعْلًا. So the people can see, watch, observe the actual execution of the punishment. فإن مشاهدة أحكام الشرع بالفعل مما يقوى أو مما يقوي به العلم ويستقر به الفهم. Because observing the legislation, legislative executions carried out is that which will strengthen knowledge. ويستقر بها الفهم, and then it will strengthen also one's understanding. ويكون أقرب لإصابة الصواب, and it will be closer that you will actually hit the target. فلا يزاد فيه ولا ينقص والله أعلم. So you should not increase in that, nor should you decrease or take away anything, and Allah knows best. Next ayah, Mussab.
الزاني لا ينكح إلا زانية أو مشركة والزانية لا ينكحها إلا زان أو مشرك وحرم ذلك على المؤمنين.
بارك الله فيك. The fornicator does not marry except a female fornicator or polytheist, and none marries her except a fornicator or a polytheist, and that has been made unlawful to the believers. The Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala says, هذا بيان لرذيلة الزنا. This is an elaboration and an explanation about the repulsiveness of fornication. وأنه يدنس عرض صاحبه وعرض من قارنه وما زجه ما لا يفعله بقية الذنوب. And that يدنس, it's like when you make something dirty, it makes filthy the honor of its doer and the honor of the one that he does this with and he mixes with, and it does so more so than other regular sins. فأخبر أن الزاني لا يقدم على نكاحه من النساء إلا أنثى زانية تناسب حاله حالها. So Allah tells us that the fornicator, the male fornicator, no one will approach him and marry him from among women except a female fornicator that whose condition is similar to his. أو مشركة بالله لا تؤمن ببعث ولا جزاء, or just a polytheist who doesn't believe in Allah, a polytheist who associates partners with Allah and does not even believe in resurrection or recompense. ولا تلتزم أمر الله, a woman who doesn't even observe the commands of Allah. والزانية كذلك لا ينكحها إلا زان أو مشرك, and the female fornicator similarly is never really married except by another male fornicator or a mushrik. وحرم ذلك على المؤمنين, that has been made unlawful for the believers. أي حرم عليهم أن ينكحوا زانيا أو ينكحوا زانية. So أن ينكحوا زانيا أو ينكحوا زانية. It's very important. Look at this now. Look at the beauty of the Arabic language, and these are the lessons that you, brothers and sisters, need to comprehend and understand for you to have a good command of the Arabic language, and for you to be able to read things on your own and understand them in the proper context. You need to pay attention to these intricacies in the language that go down to the level of the diacritical signs that are used on the letters. For instance, حرم عليهم, it was made prohibited upon them, أن ينكحوا زانيا. Here, because there's a dhamma on the wow, on the ya, there's a dhamma on the ya, ينكحوا meaning they, them, meaning it's prohibited for them, meaning the family, to give their daughter in marriage to a fornicator, a male fornicator. أو ينكحوا زانية, and or now with the fatha on the ya, they become the doers of the action, meaning, and it's also prohibited for them that the males, that they should ever marry a female fornicator. So yunkihu is now, because of the dhamma, it's in reference to a third party. It's like a third person being spoken about, and that is the family of the women. They should not give their daughter in marriage to a fornicator, a male fornicator. And then now the family of a Muslim man and the Muslim man in general should not seek a female fornicator in marriage. ومعنى الآية, and the meaning of the ayah, أن من اتصف بالزنا من رجل أو امرأة, that whoever's been given the description or the attribute of a fornicator, be it a man or a woman, ولم يتب من ذلك, and he did not repent from that, أن المقدم على نكاحه مع تحريم الله لذلك لا يخلو إما أن لا يكون ملتزما لحكم الله ورسوله فذاك لا يكون إلا مشركا. Let's take it one step at a time. So that means if a person does that, the person who's described as being a fornicator and has not repented, that means that the one who approaches him for marriage, in spite of Allah prohibiting that upon them, that leaves us with no option except that that person is not adhering and complying to the rules of Allah and His Messenger, and فَذَاكَ لَا يَكُونُ إِلَّا مُشْرِكًا, and that can only come from a mushrik, from a disbeliever. وَإِمَّا أَنْ يَكُونَ مُلْتَزِمًا لِحُكْمِ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, or it could be someone who is adhering to the ruling of Allah and His Messenger. فَأَقْدَمَ عَلَى نِكَاحِهِ مَعَ عِلْمِهِ بِزِنَا, so he still went forward for the marriage in spite of knowing that person is a fornicator. فإن هذا النكاح زنا, then that kind of marriage is fornication. والناكح زان مسافح, and the one who's marrying is actually a fornicator, who's just out there, is the public about it. فلو كان مؤمنا بالله حقا لم يقدم على ذلك. If he truly believed in Allah, he would not have gone forward with this. وهذا دليل صريح على تحريم نكاح الزانية حتى تتوب. This is a clear evidence about the prohibition of marrying a fornicating woman until she repents. وكذلك نكاح الزاني حتى يتوب. Similarly, marrying a fornicating man until he gets married. So again, brothers and sisters, so we can understand this in the right context. We're living in times where fornication and adultery are prevalent. Let's focus on fornication. A person approaches your family to take your daughter in marriage, and that person he has a girlfriend, or he goes out with women, he's a fornicator. It is not allowed for you to give your daughter in marriage to him. All right? Or if a man knows that this woman is a fornicator, she sleeps around with men, and maybe she slept with him as well. Maybe she's among the people she slept with. He's among the people she slept with. He may not marry her because they're both fornicators until they repent. So there's a detailed fatwa on Islam QA about how to go about it if two people fell into zina and they repented. Do they get married? Should they get married? Is it obligatory to get married? There's a long discussion about that, and I don't want to take the time to open up that subject right now because it will divert us from the main topic. But just so I can understand, you have to, and that means you have to do a lot of investigation when you give your children in marriage to people. You got to do some background check on the dude and the lady on what are they involved in, right? So yeah, otherwise, it's a musibah. It's a musibah. You take a woman and you think she's a afifa, you think she's pure and she's decent, and the reality is she slept with half of the neighborhood, and the man doesn't know. And then when he finds out that she's not a virgin, she comes up with a story. Oh, I was riding a horse. Oh, I fell off a horse, and it was a bicycle I was riding when I was a little girl. Oh, blah 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 blah. Some of them have an operation to restore their hymen, in order to deceive the man even further. It's a big deal. So there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done. And that's why you need to be very selective as to who you marry and who you give your daughters in marriage to. You don't bring some funny dude, who's known for such things, and then you say Bismillah. This is actually a betrayal against your own children. Now, فإن مقارنة الزوج لزوجته والزوجة لزوجها أشد الاقترانات والازدراجات, because the coupling of a husband with his wife and the wife with the husband is among the strongest type of couplings and mixings that happens. وقد قال تعالى احشروا الذين ظلموا وأزواجهم. Allah says, gather those who have been oppressive and their spouses. أي قرناءهم, meaning their equals, those who are like them. فحرم الله ذلك لما فيه من الشر العظيم. Allah prohibited that because of what it contains of massive amount of evil. وفيه من قلة الغيرة وإلحاق الأولاد الذين ليسوا من الزوج, and it also includes the lack of jealousy, which is a type of dayatha. وإلحاق الأولاد الذين ليسوا من الزوج, and also to attribute children that are not even from that man, because also, for the most part, if you marry a fornicating woman who has not repented, you better believe that she's going to continue to, fornicate, or actually now become an adulteress even after marriage. And she could be carrying different men's children, all whilst you think that these are your children. And, hey, if you don't have a DNA and whatever, which is a whole nother discussion, because at the end of the day, if she does that, the child still has to be yours. In Islam, the child is yours. If it's within, look, that's why it's a lot of things to study. It's a lot of things to be aware of. And it's a lot of concerns that are at stake that necessitate that you know exactly what you're doing before you get into these marriages. Now, وَكَوْنُ الزَّانِ لَا يَعِفُّهَا بِسَبَبِ اشْتِغَالِهِ بِغَيْرِهَا. And also the fornicating man will not be able to fulfill his wife's needs because he's busy fornicating with other than her. مما بعضه كافٍ في التحريم. Anyway, some of this is enough for it to be all prohibited, let alone the entire discussion. وفي هذا دليل أن الزاني ليس مؤمنا كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. And in that is an evidence that the fornicator is not a believer. Of course, it's not to deny the entirety of belief, as we know, because there's a discussion among the scholars. But just so we can understand first, the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يزني الزاني حين يزني وهو مؤمن. The believer does not commit zina while he's in the act, while he's a believer. فهو وإن لم يكن مشركا, the Shaykh said, even though he's not a disbeliever, a mushrik, a polytheist, فلا يطلق عليه اسم المدح الذي هو الإيمان مطلق. You also don't give him that praiseworthy name of the absolute iman. because at the time of engaging in zina, that person cannot possibly be a believer in the ultimate sense. In the ultimate sense, it doesn't mean that we're passing takfir on anyone who falls into zina. But that shows you the seriousness of that crime. While a person is engaging in it, they cannot possibly be mindful of Allah, believers in Allah, thinking about Allah at all, while in the middle of falling into this grave sin. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to protect us and our families and our spouses and our children and our grandchildren and our progeny from zina from now until Yawm al-Qiyamah. طيب. We move on with ayat number 4 and 5.
والذين يرمون المحصنات ثم لم يأتوا بأربعة شهداء فاجلدوهم 80 جلدة ولا تقبلوا لهم شهادة أبدا وأولئك هم الفاسقون إلا الذين تابوا من بعد ذلك وأصلحوا فإن الله غفور رحيم.
All right. Now, see, because that discussion is so hefty and so heavy, and because the seriousness of zina, what does that do? And I think there was a podcast between a couple of brothers who have a lot of good in some issues, namely brother Daniel Hakikachu and brother Gabriel Al-Romani. Brother Daniel has a lot of good to offer in this regard, but has some serious issues when it comes to takfir and when it comes to the Muslim rulers and when it comes to the methodology of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in dealing with those subjects. And it is my duty to make that clear, because I have defended him in the past on multiple occasions in the context of the Yaqeen Institute dilemma with Tahir White and so on and so forth. And while I defended him, and I continue to defend him in certain areas of his unapologetic approach to da'wah, or to uphold the Muslim legislation and being a promoter of that, being proud of that, does not shy away from confrontation with atheists and with feminists and so on and so forth. That's something that is absolutely needed, absolutely praiseworthy, absolutely beautiful, and I respect him abundantly for that. Yet, I have some fundamental issues with some of the teachers that he studied with or he studies with, and he quotes some of the posts that he posts online that are of dubious nature, unverified news, anything that is any ill speech or any ill information about Muslim rulers and Muslim countries. He's very hasty in putting that out to the public. Sometimes he apologizes when he's told multiple times of multiple people, yo, that's not even true. And sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he keeps it up. He gives a little explanation or disclaimer, and he insists on these abhorrent, erroneous posts and decisions he has against Muslim rulership. I've had private discussions with him on the subject, which were not fruitful, nor were they completed. They're still ongoing, but we're both busy actually in different ways, so we haven't been able to. It's one of those things that you need to have a private conversation with someone, like really sit down and talk about it. And that hasn't been decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the moment. But I would like to make that very clear, that while I defend him in certain area, you have to be wary of everything. You cannot accept everything that he says, especially when it comes to rumors and spreading information about the kingdom or the United Arab Emirates or other countries where where the Muslims in charge, whether they're the greatest Muslims or not. That is not the point of discussion. But we're very clear about not passing a wholesale takfir on governments and people in charge, because that's exactly what the Khawarij did. That's exactly the same reasoning and the same justification and the same ideology of Dhul Khuwaisira. The same exact logic when they criticize the Prophet ﷺ himself for not being just in the distribution of the war booty. So, it's a very delicate matter, and it's a fine line between guidance and misguidance, to be honest with you, in that aspect. And so there goes my public announcement regarding the subject. Brother Gabriel also is a wonderful brother, and he's again another strong contender to the feminists and the liberalists and those people. But also I've shared with him multiple times certain concerns I have about certain things that he posts that could be posted or could be tailored better before they go out to the public, or the hosting a female on a hosting a female in a dawah scene, in a dawah lecture or talk. I don't know any scholar from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah who will allow you to have a female with you on a YouTube talk. I'm not talking about someone's personal life where they've had to do something as part of work. That would be his business. If it's his personal life, he does that. That's none of my business. But I'm talking in terms of da'wah and what goes out to the people willingly by the person, by choice, by decision, by their own decision. Then that's something to be concerned about. I hope that he's aware of that. And also the general concept of the means justifying the ends justifying the means, meaning in order to deliver a message, I will overlook certain violations and engage in them and confuse the Muslims also, just so that I can make this message clear. No, it just doesn't work this way. There have to be a lot more sacrifice that has to be done. When you want to post a video, you have to remove music in the background, you have to blur if there are any women, and the list goes on and on and on. Those are the things that I would like to say, because people ask me about those two individuals in particular, and I owe it to the people to be transparent. And hey, it's a tough world we're living in. You may lose friendships because of being honest or because of being genuine, or I try to be sincere, and that's fine. That's fine. You could live life on your own and you could survive on your own. And hey, I actually don't care, nor should you. What matters is the truth. This is what I believe to be true. These are wonderful brothers with a lot of good to offer. But you, as a listener, as an observer, you cannot just close your eyes and open your heart 100% and say, I'm taking in everything because everything that's coming from there is haqq. No. And the same applies to me. If someone were to bring to your attention that I have certain issues here or there or whatever, and they're valid criticism of me that I have not recanted, that I have not repented from, that I have not made clear that are wrong, then you should also be wary of those. And other people should make public discussions, and people should warn against me in that area. So, for example, if you see me one day bring in a female and have a podcast with her, then those who are concerned about the deen should say, hey, Abu Mussab, salamat, ish fi, kharrabta, again, on my channel. Don't go to Samsung and get funny with me, because that was work. It was done in spite of me. But I'm talking about in my channel, on a da'wah. If you see me putting music in a video, you need to raise a flag. And when people want to listen to me, tell them, yo, this guy, okay, Aqidah, alhamdulillah, you can learn. But some of his videos are not appropriate. Maybe some of you don't like the editing. Some of you don't like the editing. You don't like the emojis. You don't like whatever you like. That's fine. Wallahi, that's fine. And you should tell the person who asks you, do you think I should listen to this brother? Tell them explicitly what you think. If you have knowledge, yes, the brother, I think he's okay in this regard, but I don't think the editing of the video is something that you should take seriously. Those clips he makes are just a waste of time. He's too much of a clown. He jokes too much. He laughs too much. Just be careful of that. No problem. Wallahi, I will not be upset with you, because you're giving a sincere advice to others about what you find to be problematic. Okay, and that's how and there should be no hard feelings. There should be no hard feelings. There should be, okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I respect that. It's subjective. I respect that. And that's how da'wah can be successful. When we differ, but we differ in a civilized manner. But this is with people that are generally, fundamentally upon the sunnah. When it comes to evil, misguided people, there's only cutthroat approach. Because those people are doing so much damage that you trying to now tickle them and pat them on the back, it's just making it far worse. Somebody has to be like, yo, these dudes off the manhaj, off the list, off the people you can listen to entirely, because you don't even know where the good is anymore. There's so much evil that they put out to the world. You have to look hard for the good. And that's not how it's supposed to work. Woo! What a burden off the shoulder. I don't know how we got here, but I'm glad we did. And that said, I think we should do the tafsir of this ayah next week, inshallah. Yeah, I think I want to end it on those few disclaimers I made. Hope somebody makes a clip out of them, including us, and we put it out there and send it to those brothers so they will know exactly how I feel, and they won't think that I'm trying to backbite them. That's what it is, and I've made my disclaimer. So may Allah Azza wa Jal accept that and pardon me for any mistakes and shortcomings. What do you have in terms of Q&A, my brothers? Let's go. All right. I said, Wallah, I will not do this, and every time I do, I will expiate. And I intended in my heart that it has ended. I did the thing 20 times after canceling the oath. Must I expiate them too? Yes. Are you joking with the deen of Allah? I want to understand. Why do people want to joke with, why do you want to play with the deen of Allah? I'm sorry, not joke. Why do you want to play with the deen of Allah? Why would you say, Wallah, I'm not going to do something, and you go and do it? Don't say Wallah. Just stop doing it. Making oaths is disliked in Islam. It is not something that is praiseworthy. Stop making oaths, especially the oath that you mean with your heart, not the one that the Arabs say all day. Ya Sheikh, Wallah, ant majnoon. Well, by Allah, you're crazy. He doesn't mean the oath of Wallah that you're crazy. It's just an expression that they say. That's cool. But when you make an oath of this nature, man, you playing with the deen of Allah. Now you have 20 on your back. You know how much money you have to pay, and how many people you have to feed, and how many people you have to clothe for you to get that expiation done. Come on, ya Sheikh. And your name is Quran and Sunnah. Next. Ustad, can a man who's unable to get married due to his physical appearance intend to fast for the rest of his life? Habibi, ya Abdi, astaghfirullah al-azim, shu Abdi, you're my slave. Ya Abdullah, the ugliest man on earth can have 4 wives in 15 minutes. Don't give me this physical appearance nonsense. I've seen some dudes, you see him, you say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Is this even a human? And dude, be having, some of them have the finest woman that Allah created. Habibi, there's no such thing as you cannot find a wife. And let me be very frank. I'm a blunt person. An ugly man will find an ugly woman. And they could bring ugly children into the world. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So what? It's not all about beauty. The beauty is on the inside. As they say in Lebanon, the monkey in the eyes of his mother is a deer. He's a deer running, woo, so gracefully. He's in gird. He's a monkey, ya sheikh. So what? You're not the most handsome man. You will find not the most handsome woman. And then you will have maybe handsome children. You never know. Doesn't matter. Move. Ustad, you can share your knowledge and information about obsessive compulsive disorder, particularly about religious Islamic OCD, please. What is it to mean of the OCD patients? Is OCD good? No, of course it's not good. And there's a fatwa on Islam QA that breaks it down. There's a fatwa on Islam QA about al-waswas al-qahar. Al-waswas al-qahar, that kind of compulsive waswas from the shaitan that doesn't let you make wudu and doesn't let you pray and doesn't let you do anything properly. Yeah. Next. I went to a barber in Saudi. He started trimming my beard from the side without my permission all of a sudden. I tried stopping him, but now one side of my beard is shorter than the other. Oh, it will grow back. What to do? Leave it. It will grow back. Is this not Ash'ari Aqidah? My teacher says that Al-Qalam does not mean literal pen, rather some kind of computer to store data. Takes tafsir from Hamza Yusuf. This is Ash'ari with Ash'ari with stupidity sprinkled on top. Computer to store data and the Lawh al-Mahfuz with the qalam that Allah created, ya ta'ban. If you listen to Hamza Yusuf, then you are listening to a person, you're listening to a plumber speak about medicine. Hamza Yusuf is a plumber speaking about medicine. When it comes to the religion, he has no idea what he's saying. He has no. This dude, I saw a video recently of the brother. What's his name? Sheikh Uthman. This dude said that there's no Sahih Hadith that about where to place your hands in Salah. Majnoon hada. This one, if he sees himself in the mirror, he says, "What is this?" And then someone says, "That's you." Oh, okay. That's Hamza Yusuf for you in terms of Islamic education, in terms of Islamic qualification. A Sufi, Ash'ari, burnt out, complete lost case. Shirk, grave worship, every evil characteristic that you can find is in him. But why do the people like him? Because he's a white revert. That's what it is. People love white reverts who sound so classy, and he's, you look nice and everything. And then, I would like to tell you that in my experience, I have seen so many from among the people. And he says a few fancy words. Oh, he learned Arabic. Oh, it's just a bunch of nonsense. People being fascinated by him. Forget about Hamza Yusuf, man. Sheesh. Next. On behalf of Zadeed, since he has not any adab, some people say Sheikh Asim is an innovator because he teaches the book of Al-Turaifi. Well, look, Sheikh Asim al-Hakim is one of the brothers who we believe is upon the Aqeedah of Al-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah. Yet there are some issues that I find to be problematic, and I hope that I will be able to discuss it with him when I see him. That's why I don't talk about it much. For example, his endorsement of Mufti Menk to me is something that should not be allowed, should not be endorsed, should not be accepted in Islam. And maybe he holds other positions. The issue is that I don't follow Sheikh Asim's work for me to be familiar with some of these things. So if one of you have a compilation of what you consider to be, because a lot of times people think some things are problematic, but they're not. So if someone wants to send me via email on OneWayToParadise@gmail.com, which I will not reply to, just so you won't send me questions there. You want to send me a compilation of what those issues are, we can look into them. And maybe I could speak to the Sheikh and talk to him about it, because I know him like that. We could hang out like that. Okay? But I know for a fact that the pseudo-Salafis, those sectarian super Salafis, certainly target him just like they target me, and they target Abu Usama al-Dhahabi, and they target Sheikh Abdurrahman Hassan and Muhammad Tim Humble and everybody else. So if this criticism is coming from them, I will pay no heed to it, because those people are oppressive by nature. They might have some valid criticism, but they don't like someone, so they're going to exaggerate anything that they find. If it's coming from other neutral sources, then okay, that's something to look into. Now, next. What would you recommend given aqiqah catering, i.e. the slaughtered meat, to a Muslim who might keep some of the meat for themselves without your permission, or to a non-Muslim religious Christian? Would you recommend? No, the aqiqah should be given to poor Muslims, or to your family, or to you keep it for yourself. I don't understand what you mean by who might keep some of the meat for themselves without your permission. If you're giving it to them, why would they need your permission to keep it? Catering. Oh, so okay, the catering service, they will keep some of it for themselves? No, what? They're stealing from you? Of course you don't go there. Go to a God-fearing butcher. Next. Religious Christian. There's no such thing as a religious Christian. A religious Christian is more of a kafir than the non-religious Christian. Religious Christian. So he's more in love with the Son of God? Who would even let you know if they taste the slice of the meat? Well, bro, I mean, why are you assuming that they're tasting the meat? Why are you worried about what they're going to do? If you give it to them, unless you have like CCTV footage of them, every time someone gives them a sheep, you see them like looking at the camera and taking half a kilo and putting it in a bag, and they're like, okay, then how do you know? What the heck are you talking about? Dude. Next. Also, mandi or chicken biryani. Next, ya Sheikh. Mandi wallah mandak. Do you recommend the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold? Come on. Of course I recommend the Galaxy Z Fold. It's a look at this. Look at this 7.6-inch gigantic tablet / television that I have on top of my glasses. Does it even hang? It doesn't even hang. Of course I recommend it. It's the phone to have, man. Better than a bitten apple. They gave you the leftover. They took a bite. Here, you want the leftover? You're like, oh, it's the 13th leftover. Yes, it is. Oh, let me have it. It looks like the one before. It is. And the one before. It is. And the one before. It is. And the one before. It is. So innovative. So amazing. Is it okay to charge for doing hijab and Islamic counseling? Or is it better to let people give as much as they want? All right. Well, the counseling, you could charge for that, for sure. Hijama, there's a difference of opinion among the scholars about whether it is permissible to make money out of it or not, and whether you should stipulate a particular amount or you should leave it up to the person and what they give you. But from what I've seen practice, that the people charge a particular amount, and I've seen practicing brothers charge a particular amount. But there's a fatwa on Islam QA in this regard, so please visit islamqa.info. Thank you. Next. If shaitan was sent out of Jannah, how did he whisper to Adam alayhi salam to eat from the tree? Well, because the shaitan was given access to whisper to us from wherever he is. He was from beneath them. Allah allowed it. What do you mean? Isn't Allah the one who allowed Iblis? Do you think Iblis did it without Allah's permission? That's the question for you, ya Muslima. Do you think Iblis, in spite of Allah, was able to whisper to Adam, or with the permission of Allah? You're going to say with the permission of Allah. That should be your answer. Therefore, don't worry about how it happened, because Allah allowed it. That was part of the plan. Now, I mean, do you recommend Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3? Well, the Z Flip 3 is a peculiar device because for now, the battery life is not the best. Look, as much as I love Samsung, I'm also honest, inshallah, and I'm a sincere brother to you. The battery life is not the greatest. So if you're looking for a beast phone with a massive battery life, the Z Flip 3 is not the phone for you. However, if you're looking for a phone that looks unique, chic, is cute, is nice, is innovative, definitely. But the battery life is not the greatest out there. So you put that on the scale and you see what's suitable for you. Personally, I wouldn't buy the Z Flip 3 if I needed to buy a phone. Personally. Okay? So those of you who think that I'm just crazy about Samsung without any reasoning, you've been silenced and educated right now. Thank you. Next. Is it prohibited to not get married? Yani, it's recommended that you follow the Sunnah of Prophet ﷺ and do get married. As far as I know, it's not prohibited not to get married, but you're going against the Sunnah, and the Sunnah is better for you. Now, is there any difference between Salafi and Ahl Hadith in Pakistan, India? I think most Salafis are Hanbali, but Ahl Hadith do not follow any madhab. Some pubs accuse Ahl Hadith of being Ikhwan. I can't answer 59 Yusha Tariq, because honestly, I don't know who you're referring to. Salafis, if you mean by Salafis us, then you will find among people of Ahl Hadith who are also us. And if you mean by Salafi the Salafi sect, then you will find among the Ahl Hadith also people of the Salafi sect. So I don't know what you mean. I'm a Salafi, i.e. I follow the way of the Salaf. I don't call myself Salafi. I don't run around and call myself Abu Mussab, Wajdi, Akkari, Al-Athari, Al-Salafi, Al-Madri Ish. I don't. And I don't want to make that an announcement and a statement of bragging and showing off every day, all day that I'm a Salafi. But if you ask me what type of Islam I follow the one that was laid down by the righteous predecessors, i.e. As-Salafus Salih, without any sectarianism, without any fanaticism towards any scholar on earth. We take from all the scholars who are upon the way of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah from the time of the Prophet ﷺ until today. No special scholar is given precedence over the others. Not Albani, not Sheikh bin Uthaymeen, not Sheikh bin Baz, not Sheikh Rabi' al-Madkhali. Nobody is the ultimate authority where he tells us what to do, what not to do. Otherwise, we're Sufis. We become Sufis just like Hamza Yusuf and his clan of clowns. Now, when training kids to start praying Salah from age 7, is it okay to start with just fard Salah a day and gradually increase it to that age 10? They're praying all Salah and this okay. Yes, it is okay. What's with the Salah? It's Salah, S-A-L-A, Salah. Sola is like Luna, the Luna year, the Solar year. Okay. If somebody asks again Mandi or chicken biryani, just ban them for life from this channel. There's a channel making tabdi' of every single Western da'i, ulama and students of knowledge based off their scholars refuting a person who they may have praised. What is the opinion? Ismail, ya Sheikhi. I've already answered that a million times. I know who they are. It's those funny super Salafi, pseudo Salafi, spubs byproduct. Those people, ignore them like you ignore someone knocking on the door when you want to sleep. Next, yalla guys, we have 1 minute left and then we gotta bounce. Oh, don't cry, baby. Ustad, how long after Fajr time does it become Salah of a hypocrite? I watched a video and it was a wake-up call. Alhamdulillah. Anytime after the time of Salah ends. Anytime after the Salah ends, you're falling into the hypocrisy phase because you're supposed to pray Fajr during Fajr time, not after. يسهل أمور بقيام الليل. طبعا قيام الليل خير وبركة، يسهل كل شيء بإذن الله. ما هو قيام الليل، ربنا هو اللي بيسهل أمور عشانك بتكون بالليل تصلي له يا شيخ. Okay, don't cry, baby. See, this is a sign that we need to bounce. جزاكم الله خيرا، بارك الله فيكم، سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك، أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. See you tomorrow for the Aqidah class إن شاء الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.